Hi everyone, welcome to the Elite Thinking Club. I'm Chris Jules Julian and I'm joined today by my co-hosts Liz and Lucas.
Oh, you're right.
Hey.
Awesome stuff. All right, just a quick house rule before we begin, guys, just so you know what you're in for. Look, you cannot change anything unless you're willing to understand it, and you cannot understand it unless you're willing to explore it. A good debate doesn't get ugly. We may talk of things that make people feel vulnerable. Beliefs held sacred may be challenged because of life experiences, and we're not trying to make people wrong or to incite a riot, but simply explore. So, welcome to the Elite Thinking Club. Last episode, we spoke about ghost encounters and stories of, things that have happened in our lives that made the hairs on our hands stand up, or even, question, is there another realm, another dimension where people exist? And if you haven't done so already, go and check out that episode because it's absolutely awesome. And we had such a good response from our viewers, you guys. Thank you so much for messaging us. It means the world. So if you haven't done so already, guys, hit the subscribe button and join us for future episodes. And obviously, people that are watching us right now, we really, really value your support. So thank you. Thank you from me and all the team. Tonight, this episode, we're going to talk about something that has been highlighted as quite a serious thing. So again, back to the house rules, guys, we're just exploring. And what we're going to be talking about tonight is suicides.
I don't know if you guys are aware, but this week in the news, I saw quite a shocking headline, and it was about Japan and how in 2020, which was obviously last year, more people died from suicide than anything else. And I just found that really shocking, and it's really sad as well. That so many people felt the need to end their life and the want to end their life and commit suicide. It is something that I think we should be talking about, and especially, with the whole mental health, to me, pandemic that is going on, because obviously everybody's mental health has been tested, but also those who are vulnerable and suffer with their mental health anyway. The whole lockdown, the whole fear of everything, it's really affecting people, and it's just, I couldn't believe it when I read it, that because that's an extraordinary amount of people to have ended their lives, with suicide in one country.
I think mental health these days is something that is highlighted massively in media. It's definitely something to talk about these days as well, because not even just in the pandemic, it's people coming out their shells. People can do it. It was 2020. You are who you are, and obviously mental health is affecting people massively, regardless of the pandemic. When you can't get out, you're stuck inside. But to be fair, as bad as it sounds, it doesn't surprise me that suicide rates are rising at the moment.
Yeah.
Feels like you're locked up in a cage at the moment.
Yeah, I did a post on
Absolutely.
my social media not long ago about depression, and what I explained depression felt like to someone who's experienced it, me personally, is that it feels like you're trying to live every day with your mind trying to kill you. And sometimes
Wow.
when
Yeah.
when people who haven't had depression or haven't been in that dark place hear about suicide, it takes a lot for someone to end their life. You got to have a bit of empathy, if you can, into understanding that what kind of a dark place were they in to think that was their only resort left, if that was their only option left with everything else that was available to them. They thought that was the one thing that was going to save them, you know.
It's so sad, because it's I always think about that, and I always think, why did they think that that was the channel to go, that was the way to go. And I think that obviously, unless you are that person, You can never really fully understand what they're going through, but they must have literally been at their wits' end to do that. They must have literally felt like there was no option left to, you know, to that where they, and I think some people as well, because I know some people, you know, leave suicide letters or notes, you know, to their family or friends. Not everybody does, obviously, but some people have done in the past, and often they say that they just want peace. They just want everything to stop. So I suppose, you know, sometimes I think if they're really struggling and they are in such a dark place, they just don't want to. Everyday living is, they obviously think, you know, it's easier to not be here than to every day live through that struggle.
So I know two people personally who killed themselves, and we weren't what I would say close. They weren't in my circle, like close. However, um, I knew them is a better term to use. And I spoke to one of their family, and we're exploring here, guys. So please, bear with us. It's very selfish, some might say. And
Yeah.
I want you to think about that. Now, if anyone listening, any of you guys, our viewers that have been affected by someone, taking their own life or have a personal story, if you're willing to share, we'd love to hear about it. So please, send us a direct message or comment if you're open, and that'd be much appreciated. So when I was informed that, it's kind of selfish, we're the ones who are left without them. We have to deal with the loss. It's easier for them. I also thought, but don't you think that goes through their minds?
Of course it does. It must do. It
So
must do.
I was going to say that I'm not going to mention names, but the person was an alcoholic, and maybe they thought that their addiction was causing the people around them so much pain and frustration and all negative. They couldn't do anything right, that they may have thought doing the suicide, killing themselves, would alleviate the burden of having an alcoholic person around them.
I had a friend that committed suicide a couple of years ago, and I'd known him all my life. He had an addiction, and he'd got through the addiction through rehab, and he got his life back on track, and he was doing really, really well. But the fear of failing everybody around him, because he was doing so well, and he was constantly waking up every day worrying that he would relapse and that he would cause pain. No one saw it coming because he was doing so well. Nobody saw it coming. And then he committed suicide. And, he left his family members a note to express, his apologies and his love for them, and for them to understand that every day he woke up, the thought of failing them and putting them through what he had previously put them through, it crushed him. And he felt he had such pressure on his shoulders to not fail. He would rather just not wake up every day worrying about it. And that's heartbreaking. His mother had to bury him knowing that. And none of them, obviously, they all felt guilt immediately, because they felt like somehow they had made him feel that way, but they hadn't. They'd never ever, been hard on him about it. They'd all been very supportive. But then I think because of the support, maybe that then added to his feeling bad for having put them through it. I don't know. But it was very sad. And he was, the same age as me. He was so young. And it's, I remember at the time, I couldn't quite process it. I couldn't quite understand why. And I also hated the fact that he wasn't here. I was so angry that he had so many years left on this planet, and that he has this one life. And I just felt like it was such a waste. But then, you know, when I thought about it and I spoke with his family, and you know, they spoke at his funeral about things, I did understand that, you know, we are all different, we do think differently, and we all go through things. And sometimes some people go through things silently and on their own, which I think is really hard, really hard. You know, if people feel like they can't talk to somebody, or they can't open up, or that they might not be understood. And I think that sometimes I wish I could just say to him, you should have come and spoke to me, or, you know, and it's easier said than done, these things, I think. But yeah, we just never saw it coming. And so with regards to the mental health element, you know, you can have the happiest person, the most positive person, and you might think they've got the most perfect life, but they could really, really be in a dark place. And, you know, you wouldn't know until something were to happen. And I just think that we, like Lucas said, we all need to, I think, acknowledge how important mental health is.
Yeah, I just want to say as well, it emphasizes how important it is that we're all coming from completely different ages, backgrounds. We've all got our own stories on here. And I know, I can't even count how many people I know that have been affected quite dramatically by mental health conditions. So at my uni, I just want to go out there and say my uni is spot on for mental health. They are doing everything they can, and don't think they could do any more. But yet there are still people at my uni that I know that have taken their own life, and they are people similar age to me. They're not with their families, they're living on their own in a busy city, and obviously where the location we're at in Leicester, the corona's hit it pretty hard, and we've been stuck inside for the best part of a year. Going back to before I went to uni at secondary school, there were people, like you were just saying, that you wouldn't even bat an eyelid. You think they're fine, cruising. Someone in my year with straight A stars, always smiling, played football for the school, and he turned to drugs and alcohol at the age of 17, 18. I didn't know anything about it, and then we never saw him again. I wasn't that close with him, but it was a big thing at the school, and there were loads of people that after that happened that come out and said, yeah, I'm doing X, Y, and Z, I'm doing this, that. And I didn't even have a clue. I mean, I was more naive back then, but still, it's just so unexpected.
There is a huge correlation in regards to loneliness and suicide. I think you can be in a group and that will serve you for that time. But when you go home and you're left alone, it's just you and your mind. And it's a real struggle when you aren't equipped with the willpower or positive attributes mentally to defeat the demon inside. You know, we got choices in life. However, they're easily influenced when triggered by a spiral effect. It's a you know, if I think people should have the courage, but don't necessarily always have the courage. Like you can't just grab it like you do milk from the fridge. You can't just, it's not something you can just pluck from a tree or, I don't know, absorb from social media. Like, I've got courage now. You know what I mean? It's not like that. You feel like you need to develop it. And then when you're alone, your mind will just, it will have a conversation with you. Even if you're not willing to have a conversation with it, it just speaks whatever it's going to speak. It's infectious almost too. It's like a germ that just grows and grows and grows. Let's say you're quite you're a very, very popular person and you're happy with your circle. And then like you watch a video that inflicts fear in you or inflicts negative in you or inflicts something like that. And you end up then sitting with that in your mind. Now, if you're not quick enough to counter that with something of good and positive nature, you're going to fester on that. You're going to ponder on that. And I think where you can be in a household of busy, busy, busy life, it quickly distracts you from what you saw. So you're not pondering on that. But let's say, for example, you're a uni student and unfortunately it's just you in your room. You ain't got nothing to distract you until the next day. It's almost like, you're waiting for the sun to come up so you can have another day of distraction. And then imagine that another day and another day and another day. I guess eventually you get to the point where you feel, I can't keep living like this.
There was someone in my student halls. So at the uni I'm at, there's a big student village. There must be about 400 people in this village. And in the block, it was about a 2-minute walk around the corner from me. There was someone that took their life last January, just before Corona. So this was before all this lockdown, pandemic and everything. And
So
he
sad.
took his life in his room, and he was quite an introvert and didn't really socialize with many people, and no one in his halls or in his actual house he was staying in, they didn't see him that often. Turns out he killed himself 3 days before people actually found him.
No.
Wow.
Because obviously you knock on his
Horrendous.
door, and obviously first year of uni, not everyone is the type of person to go and knock on your door and make sure you're all right.
That's right. Yeah.
So they found him, quite hard to hear, and that was around the corner from me, which is sort of a massive wake-up call.
It
But
really
now I'm in
is.
city living. I'm just with the house that I'm living with. But one of my housemates, he won't mind me saying, he does have some mental health problems, and I do check up on him every day. I give him a message, make sure he's doing all right.
I was going to say, I think an
That's
ideal
good.
would be a buddy system.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
just have someone that you trust, obviously, and just say to them, look, this is quite a serious thing. Like, I don't know if you're affected by it or not, but can we just create a buddy system where, we just check in every day? Hashtag just checking in. I tried to
I
launch that.
think that's really important. That is so important. I think touching on what you said, Jules, about loneliness, we are emotional beings. Human beings are emotional creatures. And I think one of the saddest and hardest emotion that we do feel, or feeling that we have, is feeling lonely and feeling like we can't reach out, or that we don't have anybody, or nobody's going to understand. And I think that we need to promote more to each other, whether we're close to each other, whether we, like Lucas, it's someone who you've met through uni. It's really good that you check on that guy each day and you send him a message. We need to be able to feel like we can reach out, and that we can accept when someone does reach out to us to check on us. And it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to not feel completely happy or positive. Again, we're emotional creatures. We're gonna feel we're gonna think negatively
You
sometimes.
need the
We're gonna
lows to
feel it.
appreciate it. Yeah, you need the
Yeah.
lows to appreciate the highs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think that mental health, and like the whole lockdown, like you said, Lucas, it's not just lockdown. It mental health was an issue prior to lockdown. But I think the whole solitary thing, I mean, it was a form of torture in the war, sticking people in solitary confinement, and being on their own, because it would cause insanity.
Yeah.
So I think that, a lot, and especially youngsters, you're stuck in on your own. And a lot of people that went off to uni last year or the year before probably have had a year they never expected. Like everybody's had a year they've never expected, but especially at that age, to be away from your family. And yeah, it's really, really.
I'm the captain for the tennis team at uni, and we had a big call with the tennis team, and there's freshers there, like first years, and we've obviously been talking to them, getting to know them and stuff. But my first year was completely different, and it was only last year. So we were talking a bit like, oh, have you been to this bar? Have you been to this club? Like bantering around, having a bit of fun.
Mhm.
They're going, no. I said, well, what have you been doing? And they said, well, we can't do anything. We've just been in our halls and we can't go and socialise with anyone apart from our house. And I'm thinking, I knew half the people in the student village. I was at houses different the big nights are Wednesday. So you used to get back from your match and you used to go to someone's who was having a big party, and then you go out clubbing. And
Yeah.
they're going, what's that club? I don't know where that is. And they're going, what, you don't know where the local Weatherspoons is? Like, no. It just goes to show how different time, like how things have progressed. But going back to checking into people, like the person I check in with, it's not messaging him, oh, how's your mental health today? He's a
No,
big
of
balls.
course not.
And I just go, oh, how'd the balls get on last night? And we like joke around and stuff. It's just giving him someone to talk to and sort of not a distraction, but something to keep him occupied with.
That's it, yeah.
And anyone listening, you don't know, just send a message to someone that's quite close to you, maybe a friend or a loved one.
That's it.
And just say, how you doing today? What you've been up to? And I'm sure it'll go a long way.
Yeah. And also, if you are listening and you are you're a person who's actually battling with suicide right now, let's not forget, like I said earlier, it's living every day with your mind trying to kill you. If you're in that category and you're listening in and, you're screaming right now and needing some support, then I really do hope, I really, really hope that you don't give up and you just call someone or message someone or try your utmost to just not give up. Okay, don't give up, because it's I'd rather hear of your pain than hear of your of a loss of a life.